Hello everybody, welcome to Unwets TV here at lovely Porsche with the legends Jay and Jamie.
Good evening.
So this is a bit different and we're not sure if this is going to work, so we're just going to roll with the punches. Events are conspiring for us and we wanted to share that good fortune with you because we thought we're in a room full of Boxsters and we have a camera with us and some microphones and some experts. So we figured, well, let's make the best of the situation and just do a walkthrough of the Boxster story as told by Jay and Jamie that have worked with and sold lots of these cars over the last 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And beyond.
Yes,
indeed.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Jamie's been around since pre-Boxster.
I was pre-Boxster, yeah. I was 2 years before Boxster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first
I saw them when
first
they were-
cars came in 96.
Yeah.
So this is where the story starts, officially in 1996,
Yeah.
as it was.
So this actual, I mean, obviously the first cars came out, 2.5 engine, flat six, blah, blah, blah.
Manual Tiptronic.
Manual and Tiptronic, thank
Yeah.
you. And then in 99,
9, yeah.
2.7
Yeah.
came about, and the 3.2S came through in
Late 99, I believe, wasn't it?
late
yeah.
99. Yeah, it's where I have to refer to James. He's got much better
Yeah.
memory
and
than
that
me.
got 6-speed gearbox
Six-
rather than 5, big brakes.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
3.2 litre engine.
yeah, 248 horsepower.
Correct.
So the first one was a 204. The 2.7 when it came through in 99 was 228. The first Boxster S was 248. The second one 260.
Correct, yeah, yeah.
260? Yeah, 260.
Facelift version.
Facelift car. Yeah. So this is an example. This is a really special example of a Gen 1 car, a 2.7 version. And so this is where it all started, really. I mean, I can't emphasise enough how sort of special this particular example is. Partially because the owner's only is probably in earshot, just about 20 feet away.
We sold it twice, I think, haven't we? And we used to look after it for the previous chap to that, didn't we?
Yeah, we've known it for 14 years. I think now it's just gone through 30,000 miles. And this is a car which I had great fun following on our trip to see the Mille Miglia this year. And I can tell the viewers that driven by the chap who owns it, it kept a 997 Gen 2 GT3 very honest on the Futa and Raticosa passes, and unfortunately we saw it for about 25 seconds because we couldn't keep up. So you know, it's a brilliant all-rounder. You know, this is a car which does everything. I mean, if you want fun on the road, it's becoming increasingly relevant, it seems. Pretty. I think, you know, these fell into a situation where they were regarded, weren't they, as the cheap, Porsche and that sort of stuff. And, you know, they were taken for granted. And so to have something that's actually this good now is extraordinarily rare. But it's the source of everything, and you know, the chap that owns this has had a lot of, you know, sort of more kind of halo cars, you know, things with RS written at the end and all that sort of stuff. Now this car does everything for what he wants on the road, which is where 99% of his driving is done, the best. And, you know, a great thing, thoroughly well engineered, and, you know, works very well.
It's a car that the gentleman has the confidence to just jump into it and do those trips through France, Italy, and not worry about stuff.
Loads of room.
Yeah.
It's refined on the motorway, it's efficient, it's quiet. When you want to, you put the roof down and you go. And the handling is a delight. Okay, it's not the ultimate in, you know, pin sharp, hard ride, you know, ultimate grip or anything. And yet still, honestly, I've seen, you know, I've followed this car and it's just extraordinary what it can do. And I think they're pretty now.
Yeah, well, I did 2.5, didn't I? And the levels of grip that the thing had were just incredible.
Yeah. Well, you've had 4 Boxsters, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'm on my first. At this point in time, they are dramatically undervalued in the market in general. And when that will change, I don't know. I think it's, there are obviously certain members of our fraternity that appreciate them now, which is great. They're a good car to, if you wish to take something and have as your project to modify and all that sort of stuff, to make it bespoke for you. Yeah, you can do that.
Well, there's so much you can do as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's just,
But if you want the definitive thing, they are as rare as rocking horse doo-doo.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
yeah.
well, look, with that in mind, should we move
Anyway,
on
next,
through the generations?
Indeed, yeah, it's a chronological tour. It's fairly brisk, unfortunately. Obviously, then we get to 987, and obviously we've got Nick's car here today, which is obviously the Spider. 987, Jamie, 2005.
Yeah, it was the first of them. Yeah. Or, well, 54, seen a few 54s, haven't we? Late, very, very late,
That's
2004.
True. Yeah, okay. So 2005 model year, but 04 car. What did they do? I mean, obviously the chassis was reworked, and I mean everything really gave it a bit more space, actually, didn't they?
More legroom.
Because for
taller people, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I've been finding them right from the get-go, but you were a little bit cramped in the 986, weren't you?
Yeah. I always felt like it needed another inch or so in the 986, and the 987 was just perfect.
You used to say sort of 6'2" was pretty much the cut-off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For absolute cut-off for 986. 987, putting out another inch in it, didn't they? And it made quite a lot of difference. With the early cars, you used to take out the centre console in order to give people a bit more legroom. Everyone thought that it was a nice upgrade, didn't they? I remember driving those 986 cars and thinking, wow, this is brilliant. How on earth can they improve upon this? And then 987 came out, and I thought, wow, the ride is
vastly different.
It's incredible, and it just feels a little bit better screwed together, possibly, and all of those things.
Also, when you think they went from 18-inch wheels with the biggest wheels on the previous generation, 19-inch wheels, didn't they? So,
but then you could get PASM and all that sort of stuff. The options went, there were a greater degree of options available on them. Gen 1 cars obviously quite different to Gen 2. Whereas with the Gen 1 and Gen 2 versions of the first car, it was sort of glove box and
Gen 2 was
and a glass rear screen.
Touchscreen navigation, Gen 2. LED
well, now you're on 987. The 987 we had quite a major change because obviously it was you could get into the direct injection engines with the Gen 2 version of this car, and so that allayed some people's fears with stuff that was talked about incessantly and has been and will be forever, IMS bearings and all of that sort of stuff.
Biggest change was also Gen 1, Gen 2 PDK.
Yes, the instigation, and this would be an example that has that first PDK gearbox, which when it came out was miraculous, is still brilliant, and this car's 15 years old now, and fits the car actually quite well. It's an exciting thing. I think the fact that it's slightly less refined than later iterations of that PDK gearbox suits this car tremendously. Nick could obviously talk at much better and much greater length than I could on these cars. Frankly, I've driven a lot, but we went from sort of having Boxster and Boxster S, and then there were some special editions, 550,
RS60,
and then RS60 on 987. And then they started, branching out, and then they built this, which obviously is the Spider. The changes on them, the rarity of them is a lot more dramatic than most people would think. And these are going to be a bona fide classic at some point or other. That direct injection and PASM and PDK and all that sort of stuff was a real sort of marker for what was going to happen next. And obviously that leads us on to...
It's a great link, Jay. It's a great link.
I haven't got a 981 here today, unfortunately, although we do have Max somewhere around. So
he came in something four-wheel drive today.
That's not a Boxster, is it? No.
982 then, is the internal type code.
Yeah, indeed. Well done. But the platform is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, 981 came around, and that was a complete redesign. It's, you know, it's grown a bit as cars do over time. A lot of people that were at this point a bit sort of anti, you know, the older Boxsters, which had sunk away a little bit, liked the fact that this car seemed a bit more masculine, a bit more grown up or whatever. The build quality was great.
The introduction of the slanted centre console was a big change as well.
Yeah.
Even down to little things, did away with the plastic wind deflector and the mesh wind deflector in the middle as well. Again, a little bit lighter and a bit more durable as well, weren't they?
The big thing for me with these cars was, again, a ride thing that, you know, they were now wearing really big wheels with low profile tyres and things, and yet they rode so well, and that was because of the rear suspension redesign. Which is, I mean, it still looks amazing to me when I'm up underneath one. And you know, they just kept stepping it on. The engines were tweaked, and the array of cars became broader again, and so we had GTS that came about with 981. Yeah, that was a fabulous car, and quite noisy. I mean, quite a good proper Rorty exhaust. Very exciting car.
The saleable thing about that was that when you started up in the showroom, and you could just see people's face light up because of the noise of the thing. And
yeah, that's true.
Superb sound tracks.
Oh yeah.
718 turbocharging, it completely changed the Boxster story.
Yeah.
Where do you guys sit with that as enthusiasts, but also as people that sell these cars?
Yeah.
Well, I think as they've gone on, the whole thing with the noise between 6 and 4, I think now actually you realise it's actually a pleasant noise. It's a different noise, but the driving experience of that car and what it delivers is just brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, there was a big backlash.
Oh yeah.
As usual, you know, when there's a change or whatever, there's quite a backlash, and there was a big backlash with that, and because it was it was graphically different, orally really quite a challenge for a lot of people. There's going to be those of us that are always going to love multi-cylinder engines, flat sixes and stuff, and that's what we want. But those cars, those 718 4-cylinder cars, whether it be a 300 horsepower 2-litre car or a 350, you know, or plus, you know, S or whatever, I mean, they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They are so good, so efficient. I mean, really clever cars. You know, I think they're almost like in the zone where 996 was for a while. They're being whipped for you know, unfair kind of reasons sometimes. Having said that, you know, there was a core of us that really wanted a 6-cylinder engine. They then did obviously the 4-litre GTS, and you know about that car better than I do almost. And you know, this is a fabulous thing. I mean, the amount of Porsche that you're getting within one car at that value is extraordinary. And then we get into, you know, and from there on, obviously we've got the Spider versions of 981 and the Spider version of this car, and then you've got the RS, and all of a sudden we're into proper full-on mental. So, you know, GT3 engines and all that sort of stuff, and
I mean, you think this is going to be the last hurrah of that generation, isn't it? So.
Is a Boxster an easier sell than it's ever been, or has the stock always been high and my comment is extremely negligent?
I think it is a sort of easier sell in general now than it was, because it's been proven that it's a special car. I mean, if this Porsche Boxster was made by anybody else, it would be legendary. It's only because, you know, we've got all of these other things that sit on top of it for which the company was known beforehand and continues to be, that it's ever had that sort of backlash or negative associations. Now, as I say, we, you know, fortunately, within the fraternity, I've used that word again, that we work, and the enthusiasts thing, the guys, we've got lots and lots of people that have had lots of 911s, and now a Boxster makes much more sense than the latest 911.
There we go. Massive thanks to these guys for doing that in a one take and with zero planning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It always takes a lot of gumption as well as knowledge, more gumption than knowledge, to jump in front of the camera and do this. So kudos to you both for doing that.
It was probably stupidity because it was actually my idea.
Farragut Showroom, pre-curry night.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Lee.
Time.